Picture a name once synonymous with strength, determination, and triumph, now tied to a story of shocking and heartbreaking transformation. Denise Rutkowski, one of the brightest stars in 1990s bodybuilding, rose to the top just as quickly as she vanished, leaving behind a legacy defined not only by her achievements, but by a fall that still reverberates today. What happened to this promising athlete, whose physique once seemed to defy human limits? Her story, as captivating as it is haunting, unveils the extreme sacrifices demanded by an unforgiving sport and the devastating consequences of choices made under relentless pressure, taking us far beyond the spotlight. Denise Rutkowski was a name that shined brightly in the bodybuilding world of the 1990s, a rising star who seemed destined to reach the rarest heights in her discipline. For those who watched her on stage, she was more than an athlete. Denise was a force of nature, someone who combined elegance, power, and a striking physique that seemed sculpted by hand. Her smile radiated confidence and determination, and her movements were as precise as those of a dancer. But with every step she took toward the top, her journey masked the devastating costs of a world that demands everything and gives back very little. Born into a modest household in Texas, Denise didn't grow up dreaming of bodybuilding. She was an ordinary young woman, full of aspirations, but the sport would become her escape, her passion, and eventually, her downfall. Discovering weightlifting was like finding a home for her inner strength, a way to channel her drive in a world that often didn't understand her intensity. She threw herself into bodybuilding with unparalleled dedication, spending every waking moment sculpting her body, pushing her limits, and chasing the impossible. Over the years, her transformation was undeniable. Denise went from a promising competitor to a genuine threat to the sport's greatest athletes. When she stepped onto the stage at the 1993 Ms. Olympia, Denise was a spectacle unto herself. Her physique wasn't just muscular, it was balanced, symmetrical, a masterpiece that defied natural laws. She stood tall against legends like Linda Murray, who reigned supreme in the sport, but Denise didn't flinch. Every pose, every glance, every movement seemed to tell the audience she was born for this. The second-place finish she secured that year was a landmark achievement, not just because it was the pinnacle of her competitive career, but because it marked the beginning of an unexpected and startling turn. At the very moment Denise seemed destined to become the greatest of all time, she vanished. The bodybuilding world was stunned. What had happened to Denise Rutkowski? Some whispered she had left to follow a spiritual calling, others speculated about burnout, but no one knew for sure. Denise offered no public explanation. She simply walked away, trading the spotlight for a life of anonymity. What few understood at the time was that behind her flawless physique and confident smile, Denise was battling inner demons. The pressure to achieve perfection, the reliance on substances to sustain that ideal, and the emotional toll of a career that demands everything were beginning to take their toll. The use of anabolic steroids, though commonplace in the competitive circuit, left deep scars. These compounds promised extraordinary results, but they came with a terrifying list of side effects. For women, the impacts were even more extreme. Hormonal changes that altered not just their bodies, but also their minds and identities. Like many others, Denise made choices to compete on an even playing field, but the consequences of those choices were starting to surface. She was losing control of something that once seemed her greatest asset, her own body. Away from the competitions, Denise sought a new purpose. Spirituality appeared to offer a lifeline, a chance to reconnect with herself. But what should have been a fresh start became a silent struggle. The physical changes brought on by steroids were irreversible. Her voice had deepened, her face carried sharper, more angular features, and the vibrant energy she once radiated seemed to have dimmed. Denise was facing not just physical collapse, but also a psychological unraveling. The woman who had been celebrated on stage now endured judgmental stares and whispers. There were no more applause, only silence. As the years passed, her situation worsened. Without a community to understand her struggles, Denise found herself on a dangerous path. Reports suggest she developed a dependency on drugs, a desperate attempt to numb the pain that consumed her. The choices that once seemed to empower her now trapped her in a cycle of destruction. In 2012, Denise reappeared in the media, but not as the bodybuilding star the world remembered. She had been arrested for drug possession and disorderly conduct. The mugshots that surfaced shocked everyone. The woman in the photos was almost unrecognizable. Her expression, marked by time and hardship, told a story words could barely capture. The public's reaction was divided. Many mourned her downfall, some judged her, but few understood the weight Denise carried. This was the raw reality of a sport that often demands its athletes push beyond limits, but offers little support when those limits destroy them. Denise had become a living cautionary tale, a stark warning about the costs of extreme success, but at a price no one should have to pay. Yet, even amid the apparent tragedy, there was something about Denise's story that continued to resonate with people. She wasn't dead, but her journey was a constant reminder that life is more than trophies and titles. Denise Rutkowski was a woman who chased greatness and, in the process, lost pieces of herself. But as painful as her trajectory is, it also invites reflection. How many other Denises are there, hidden behind smiles and flawless performances, silently fighting the pressure to be perfect? Her story doesn't end here, because there are still lessons to learn, conversations to start, and changes to make. She may have stepped away from the spotlight, but her impact remains. Denise Rutkowski is a powerful reminder that the true worth of a person isn't in their appearance or their achievements, but in their humanity. And while her journey has been marked by pain and loss, there's something deeply human in her struggle to find meaning and redemption amidst the chaos. Denise Rutkowski's story, after years away from the spotlight, became a tale wrapped in mystery and filled with hard lessons. While many still remembered her as the shining star of bodybuilding, there was now a different Denise, a woman whose life had taken a turn as unexpected as it was heartbreaking. For those who had followed her rise, her disappearance felt like the sudden extinguishing of a flame that once burned so brightly. Denise didn't just leave the sport, she vanished from the public eye entirely, leaving behind questions that would linger until the truth emerged in a harsh and painful way. When photos of Denise resurfaced years later, they shocked the world. The woman who had once been admired for her impeccable physique and unshakable determination now looked like a shadow of her former self. The mugshots from her arrests, widely circulated in the media, showed more than just the toll of time. They revealed a battle that she had been fighting silently for years. Her eyes, once full of fire and life, now reflected pain, confusion, and perhaps resignation. Those images didn't just ask questions. They offered answers about the steep price she paid for living a life pushed to the edge. Denise wasn't just a victim of her own choices. She was a casualty of a system that glorifies sacrifice in the name of success. For many, bodybuilding is a stage where extraordinary bodies are celebrated, but few stop to question the methods behind them. In Denise's case, as in so many others, the use of anabolic steroids became a necessary evil, a way to compete on equal footing. These substances, capable of transforming human bodies into almost superhuman forms, came with consequences too heavy to bear. For Denise, the hormonal changes didn't just reshape her outward appearance, they triggered imbalances that deeply affected her mental health as well. There was something profoundly unfair about the judgment Denise faced. The same society that cheered for her on stage now seemed to watch her downfall from a safe distance, treating her collapse as a tragic spectacle. Denise had become a symbol, but not of the glory she had once achieved. For many, her transformation was a cautionary tale about the dangers of substance abuse, yet few acknowledged the person behind the story. Denise was more than a warning. She was a woman with dreams, hopes, and struggles. Someone who had faced unimaginable pressure and made choices in a world where success often comes at the highest cost. As the years passed, Denise's fight wasn't just against the physical effects of steroids, but also against the haunting ghosts of her past and the overwhelming challenges of her present. The addiction she developed wasn't simply a result of her current circumstances, it was a desperate attempt to escape a pain she had carried since her glory days. The loneliness that followed her exit from bodybuilding, combined with the irreversible changes in her body and health, created the perfect storm for her downward spiral. Denise, who had once achieved so much, now fought just to hold on to the smallest threads of dignity in a life that felt like it was crumbling around her. And yet, even in the darkness, there was something unbreakable in Denise's story. Her existence, no matter how tragic it might seem, served as a reminder that every choice comes with a cost and that external pressures can turn even the strongest into the most vulnerable. Denise never set out to become a symbol, but that is what she had become. Her story became part of a larger conversation, challenging the norms of an industry that often demands everything from its athletes while offering little support to help them cope with the fallout. Denise's fall also brought to light broader issues surrounding mental health and support for high-performance athletes. While the world debated the physical effects of steroids, the emotional and psychological impacts were often ignored. Denise, without a doubt, was a victim of a system that idolizes physical perfection while neglecting emotional well-being. Her struggle to find purpose after leaving the sport highlighted the void many athletes face when their careers end. For Denise, the stage wasn't just a place of competition, it was part of her identity, and losing it left a hole that no past achievement could ever fill. Still, her story is not just one of tragedy, but also one of hard-won lessons. Denise Rutkowski may not have found public redemption, but her life remains a powerful message for athletes, coaches, and fans alike. Her transformation, painful and public, forces us to rethink the expectations placed on those who chase greatness. She challenges us to question a culture that celebrates extreme sacrifice and reminds us of the importance of providing support and compassion to those who bear the heaviest burdens. Denise's fall is a stark reflection of the pressures and pitfalls of a world that demands too much and gives too little. Her journey invites us to look closer at the athletes we idolize, to see beyond the polished performances and into the humanity beneath. For every trophy won, for every crowd cheered, there is a person carrying the weight of it all. Denise Rutkowski's story is a painful reminder of that truth. Though her life has been marked by profound struggles, it is not a story without hope. It is a call to action, a chance to learn, and an opportunity to change. Denise's story urges us to create a world where success doesn't have to come at the cost of our humanity. While the world continues to discuss her legacy, one thing is certain: Denise Rutkowski, with all her flaws and battles, will never be forgotten. She is more than her rise, more than her fall. She is a testament to the complexity and resilience of the human spirit.